boxing fans here with Eddie Hearn. We've just on the way in Liverpool. Just talking about this card, it's been a lot of bad luck. A lot of pullouts. Obviously, Callum Smith, main attraction, pulling out. You've had Liam Parrow pulling out. It's not been ideal, but the fans came out today.
Yeah, it's a good card. I mean, when you lose a main event, you always have to make a decision. We've been here before. Do you continue or do you pull it? I hate pulling it. I think we've only pulled one show in about 10 years. I can't even remember what it was now. But it was quite recent. Oh, it was Lee Wood against Mauricio Lara. Sorry, yeah, it was that one, yeah. So that's, that hurts because these fighters have been training for 8-10 weeks and they only get paid when they fight in this sport. But they've all sold so many tickets individually. That's another reason I kept the fight on. If I knew everybody was going to ask for their money back, then you have to consider it. So luckily they've all got great support and it's a good card. Pacheco, who for us is one of our biggest stars in world boxing, good fight against Jack Cullen. I really like Davis against Foley. I think it's a good fight. Peter McGrail, one of the best young prospects in the world, steps up. Johnny Fisher, who's got a huge army coming from Essex. Rhiannon Dixon in a great fight for the Commonwealth title. Akib Fiaz against Dean Dodge is a good fight. And Paddy Lacey in a local derby. Campbell Hatton, George Liddard. It's a good night of boxing. I will say one thing. I was on a train the other day and someone who works with me, Ross, said, "Jeez, we are in a run of the worst bit of luck ever at the moment. Aren't you finding that?" And I was like, don't know really, because I'm so emotionally numb to bad news in boxing that you just get on with it. But now I'm looking at it, we've got 6 announcements coming in the next 2 weeks. So it's like life. Do you know what I mean? You go through little bad spells, you have good spells, you go through bad spells. And when I have a good spell, do you know what I think? When's a bad spell coming? So you just have to be emotionless, really, especially in boxing. And so you get on with it, you're going to get kicked in the nuts all the time. But every now and again, you're going to have a great bit of news, you're going to have a great night, and you're going to go, "Oh, I love this sport." And then you wake up next morning and go, "I fucking hate this sport." And that's the world we're in.
Obviously, talking about bad news and things that you guys have been involved with, the whole Conor Benn situations, unfortunately, is still rolling. One thing I wanted clarification from yourself. I was watching a Dominic Ingle interview this last week with Boxing King Media, and he talked about the B sample process. He said that they give you a time, you've got to bring your people at a certain time. If you don't come on time, that's your own fault, and they'll carry on with the test as the testing as usual. Is that the way? Because from what we're hearing is that the scientists are supposed to go in for the B sample. They didn't oversee things, but is it because he was late?
No, not because he was late. And I don't know. I mean, Dominic Ingle knows a lot about drug testing, but at the same time, yes, there is a process where you have to be present during that entire process, or your expert has to be present, and he wasn't allowed to be. That's Conor Benn's case. That's within the £270 document, and that's part of maybe half a dozen things that happen during the process that, quite frankly, don't make sense. When people talk about sharing the document with the British Boxing Board of Control, he's suing the British Boxing Board of Control. At the moment, they're so far away from sitting down and going through this process, and it's going to be my job to try and make that happen. The British Boxing Board of Control have acted very poorly at times around this situation. It wasn't easy for them. But at the moment, their ego's out of control, where they're out there giving interviews and and saying stuff that actually doesn't make sense. And Conor Benn is also out of control. So right now, I say to Conor Benn, let's sit down with the board. Fuck the board. They tried to get 100 grand out of me for that, which they did. And they want to do that. And I might say to Robert Smith, "Oh, let's all sit down." Well, he's saying that. It's like, guys, Conor Benn's fighting in June. He's not fighting in the UK in June. But I really want him to fight in the UK moving forward. The only way you can do that, Conor, is to forget everything that's happened and your views of the situation and get together with the board. The board, Robert Smith, you've got to stop. And we've got to go through this process, and he's got to be treated fairly in this process. And I hope we can make that happen. It's important to me. But right now, we are a week, 2 weeks max, away from announcing Conor's next fight. It will be in America or the Middle East, and his career will move forward.
So you agree with Carl Froch, who's saying Conor Benn needs to respect the board and just have this hearing out?
Well, he needs to respect the board if he's going to fight in this country, and we want him to fight in this country. And I think he does deep down. There's a lot of ego floating around from everybody, but I want him to fight in this country, and to do that, he's going to have to go through that process.
The names that are getting mentioned for Conor, it's obviously Manny Pacquiao. A lot of people are umming and ahhing at that. 44 years old, hasn't fought for a couple of years. Another name that I'm hearing is possibly Carl Brook. He's training again, looks in good shape from what I'm hearing. And another one is Adrian Broner. How true are them three names?
Well, Manny Pacquiao is true because he wants the fight. There's been negotiations about that fight. We've had multiple site offers for that fight. Kell Brook wants to fight Conor Benn. We're not in negotiations for that fight, but I think you may well see that fight in the UK if we sort everything out after the summer fight. Adrian Broner, there's been no discussions with regarding the fight since maybe 2 years ago. Who else did you say? Yeah, so there's two more fighters.
Chris Eubank Jr.
Chris Eubank Jr. For me, that's the fight to make, right? Because before it was like a family thing, and now it's just absolute pure hatred, right? So I'm looking at it and thinking, don't worry about the catch weight. Conor's already said 160, no problem. Eubank's coming off a defeat to a very good middleweight. Let's see him in with a welterweight. Bad blood, everything that happened in the past, the build-up would be wild. Chris Eubank Jr. will make a fortune, much more than he'll make to fight Liam Smith. I love the fight because I just think it's wild. But it's just down to whether Chris Eubank Jr. wants the fight. And if he doesn't, it won't happen. And we'll fight Pacquiao, we'll fight someone else. But that's the fight I would like to make.
Just moving on, Tyson Fury has been on Instagram just now.
Has he?
And he said that he'd accept if Usyk accepts 30% of the split. Obviously, it looks like the fight's not going to happen, but he's saying if he accepts 30%. What do you make of all of that?
Well, it's good for me. And it's great for Anthony Joshua because it just goes to show you what you're dealing with. I agree that Tyson Fury has a much bigger commercial value in that fight than Oleksandr Usyk, right? However, Oleksandr Usyk has 3 of the championship belts. If you listen to Frank Warren's interviews not so long ago, he says, easy fight to make, it's 50-50 and blah, blah, blah. So quite clearly, it's not, is it? And I don't even actually feel sorry for Frank Warren in this situation. Can't believe I'm saying it. And George, because they do want to make the fight, just like we wanted to make undisputed fights. But Tyson Fury believes that he should get 70% of the pot. Not fair, right? If you believe he's just a small middleweight, if you believe it's such an easy fight, if you believe that you can go and create legacy as an undisputed champion, unfortunately, you have to give a little. Okay. When Tyson Fury drew with Deontay Wilder and was just a challenger, no world championship status, we offered him 60-40 to fight Anthony Joshua. He said, no, I will only accept 50-50. He was a voluntary challenger. And we said no, but he should have taken the 60-40 at the time. But he's got his principles, he's his own man, he's more than allowed to negotiate what he wants to negotiate. 70-30 is not fair for Oleksandr Usyk in this situation. And Usyk is a man of principle. But he wants the fight. And he's already agreed to 60-40. I think that's a very fair. I mean, in my situation, I would be saying to my fighter, listen, you are worth 60-40 or whatever, but the only way you're going to get this fight is 50-50. Take the fight. You're going to make 60-70 million for this fight, and you're going to become undisputed. We're going to go down in history. It's not about history, is it? It's not about legacy. Let's cut the bullshit. It's about pure, filthy money. Right? I'm not interested in money. Oh, it's all material stuff. The only thing you got is memories, really. Tyson Fury just wants as much money as possible. I don't even blame him. But just be real. Don't say you're going to give your money away to charity. Don't say you don't care about money. Don't say you're not interested in cars and then sit there with a Rolls Royce Wraith and a Ferrari. Do you know what I mean? Just be real. I fucking love money. I'm the biggest star in the world. Fuck you, Oleksandr Usyk. Give me all the money. I'm so greedy. I want it all. All. Right? But he doesn't do that, does he? He says, no, I'm about this, I'm about that. Just fucking be real. And what pisses me off is AJ, who's never gone on social media and never talk shit and told lies. And he's just a fighter. He boxed Oleksandr Usyk twice, back to back, no problems. The first time when Usyk was a mandatory challenger, everyone went, don't fight Usyk. Oh, man, that's a terrible fight for you. Southpaw, you haven't boxed one since Charles Martin, blah, 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 blah. He went, no, he's my mandatory. I've got to fight him. Fights him. Gets well beaten. Everyone says, don't exercise the rematch clause. You got well beat. No, I want to fight him. back to back, every time he fights those guys. And for all these years, whether people will now see it or not, he's always wanted those fights, and he's always accepted the toughest fights. So April the 1st, get behind him, because he's back, and I can't wait. And part of this whole thing about me buzzing and giving you great content is because AJ's back. And I can't wait. I'm so excited. He's working his nuts off in Dallas behind closed doors, and I can't wait to see him back in the ring.